Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have an engine showcase for you, and it's going to be about this engine. But first, I want to quickly say that I just recently released four 30-second long videos, and each of them basically, I call them test track videos, and they're basically just, unlike these engine showcase videos, which I show the complete engine, at least more or less complete engines, test tracker basically just showcasing engines that I haven't completed yet, like, unpainted, for example. However, I've spent a lot of time on them, working on them. And the reason I uploaded four of them recently is just to show people that brass engines, if you put enough care and work into them, they can run very smoothly, powerfully, silently, etc. But you just gotta work with them, you know? They're really old engines, so given enough care and effort, you can make them run great. So that's the reason I uploaded them. I think I showcased this engine, and a few more. But yeah, anyways, let's get back to this engine. So this is a Red Ball Brass Pennsylvania Railway B6sb 060. Now, Pennsylvania Railway had a lot of these working. They used to work them in the yards, but then for switching, but then they used them later for like switching really tight industrial spurs and whatever. And yeah, Pennsylvania had a lot of them. But yeah, so this is number 525, and this, as I said, is made by Red Ball Brass. And the story behind this engine is that I bought it on eBay, like most of my purchases, for very cheap. So the guy didn't know the manufacturer, and to be fair, Red Bull Brass is a really small, unknown manufacturer that actually makes surprisingly good engines. This one runs really well, and yeah. So the guy sold it for, or at least I paid $135 for it, and it came with a CAN motor and DCC sound, tsunami sound decoder, in fact. So yeah, it was a great deal, $135. However, it did come with a few flaws, right? So for example, first thing, if you see the tender here, this piece, the stirrup step slash front plate piece, is just dangling from the wires, but it's completely fallen off the tender shell. As well as there's obviously a bunch of places that the paint's missing. The wheels are covered in this like gray, thick paint and also a lot of grease, so it looks really poor. And I think that's what you can see from this picture. The headlights and rear lights did not work. There was no lights inside them. Um, and lastly, um, you can see another picture of the piece that's just fallen off. And lastly, over here, you see the tender? It bulges out. This top piece here bulges out on the rear, and it's completely just loose here, just kind of holding. There's no glue or anything like that holding it in place. And so that was the main few issues with the engine. So as you can see, if we turn around here, first thing you'll notice is that the drive rods and everything are in this really nice silver color, and that is simply because I removed the paint because the paint looked really ugly. So I just kind of removed the paint off with some lacquer thinner, and yeah, now they're sparkly, shiny, clean, whatever, which I guess isn't the most prototypical, but at least it runs a lot smoother now. Now there's a lot less resistance for the motor to push the greasy, rods. Now it's nice and clean. So yeah, that's the first thing I did. Second thing I did was I obviously repaired this thing here. This plate, this is how it's supposed to look. It's supposed to be mounted on the tender here. And since these are both brass pieces, I soldered it together. Thirdly, as you can see, there's still a bit of a kink sort of there, like the where it bulges out just a tad. But I pushed it down and like kind of, I don't know. I used a hammer to like slowly push it down, and then I also soldered it back into place. Because these are both again brass pieces. That's the nice thing about brass engines, is that you can easily use solder to hold things in place, and it's so much better than glue, because solder it's metal. So anyways, yeah. So now it's subtle. Now obviously if you look at it, it's noticeable, but if you look from just the engine in total, it's really hard to notice. So yeah, and then lastly, there again, all the paint chips and whatever, I color matched the paint, and I painted all the various areas that were missing paint. There was there's so many areas. I think it was like 50 to 100 pieces of places I had to touch up the paint at. But now it looks fine. Now the paint job is more or less okay. The graphite in the front, which the original owner did, still looks a little questionable. And the decal on the front is also really poorly applied. And lastly, the coal is missing from the top. But that's fine. That's why you can see the brass underneath. But one day when I do add coal into here, this will be covered up, so that's fine. But yeah, and then lastly, as I said, it did have a sound decoder and it did have a CAN motor, but however, it did not have lights. So I actually spent some time adding LEDs right here. Here we go, you can see that. So I don't know, it's really kind of hard to see, but there's this little tiny yellow dot there, and that is an LED. It's absolutely microscopic, and basically I fit it inside the headlight. Camera's not in focus. I fit inside the headlight, and then I put the lens that it came with back over it, so you can't see the LED itself. And yeah, if we in fact turn the engine sound on, like there, and then we turn the headlight on, look at that, it's very, very bright. And if we also turn on the rear light, which I also added an LED to, yeah, so it's the lights work perfectly fine. The sound obviously is fine. And if we try running it, I'm gonna turn the sound off for this so you can see how quiet it is. Turn the speed step 1. That's reverse, my bad. Let me turn it forward again. I'm sorry my camera's shaking so much. I do not know why. Here, actually, let me mount the camera. Hold it a little better at least. There we go. So yeah, it's very, very smooth. And quiet too. And so yeah, this is a really awesome engine. Spent some time obviously repairing the details and paint touch-ups and etc. and removing all the grease from here, which took actually a while because I had to take apart all the valve gear and the wheels and etc. But it was totally worth it. I mean, this engine I paid what, $135, and I got this perfectly running brass engine with sound. Yeah, definitely a keeper. This engine's awesome. Alright, so anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this engine showcase. I do apologize for the shaky camera work. I am trying to hold it. I am holding it with my hand, so yeah. But anyways, yeah, it's cool to see my work that I did like a few years ago, and you know, revisiting all that stuff. And so yeah, let's end this video here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.